Um, Good morning, everyone. Today, my presentation topic is about the role of language games in modern communication. Insights from the Wittgenstein for political and digital discourse. The language is a powerful tool of communication and a fundamental subject of study in English language studies. Its study involves understanding how language is used to convey meaning, form relationships, and reflect societal values, which is this later philosophy. Particularly, his theory of language games offers a revolutionary framework for understanding the role of language in human life, which is this central assertion that the meaning of words arises from their use in particular contexts or games, and challenges the traditional view of language as a stable system of science. The concept, the concept of language games developed in which these philosophical investigations highlights the fluid, context-dependent nature of meaning. According to Wittgenstein, language is not a fixed set of symbols or signs, but a series of interconnected activities, each governed by its own rules and objectives. These games are dynamic and context sensitive, with the meaning of words and expressions emerging from the usage in specific situations, rather than being intrinsically attached to them. This paper examines the implication of Wittgenstein's theory of English language studies, particularly within the fields of discourse analysis, social linguistics, and communication studies. And let's go to the next one, the significance of the study. So what's the significance of this study? The first one, it explores the dynamic nature and language based on Wittgenstein's theory of language games. And the second one, it highlights its application in understanding discourse according different platforms like politics and social media. The second one, it connects linguistic theories with the real-world communication challenges. And the last one is that it emphasizes its relevance in analyzing social narratives and identity construction. Let's go into the statement of problem. I will do the research of this study from the three statements of problems. The first one is, how does Wittgenstein's theory shape our understanding of language and meaning? The second one is, what are the implications of power dynamics in discourse? The third one is, how can the theory be applied to political speeches and social media? The first finding of SOP1, the it strongly supports Wittgenstein's central claim that meaning is not an inherent property of words, but is instead contingent upon their use within specific social contexts. This underscores the importance of recognizing the contextual and the social dimensions of language. In political speeches, for instance, language is strategically deployed to shape the meaning in ways that reflect and reinforce the power dynamics and the play in society. Politicians often engage in carefully or frustrated language games to construct and maintain the power relations, forge the collective identities, and garner support for political agendas. Words, phrases, and emotions create solidarity and solidify the authority of speaker. This process reveals how language is harnessed as a tool for social control, shaping the way individuals perceive political events, issues, and ideologies. So in the social media context, it's the informal language promotes collaboration and global engagement. For example, we use the use of we. We will rebuild. What's the interpretation is the collective identities. And then the social media context, informal the language promotes collaboration and global engagement. We can use the hashtags and the meme culture is something like the you use the, for example, the hashtags we use the Me Too with this one, and it interprets the social movements and activism. And the SOP2, what are the implications of power dynamic in discourse? The first one, the political sphere, languaging strategically reinforces existing power structure. For example, use of the freedom and the patriotism to elicit the unity. The social media platforms provide space for marginalized voices to challenge dominate narratives. For example, the activism movements like the Me Too, Black Lives Matter. The political discourse is often characterized by deliberate choices in language use that reflect the speaker's goals. For example, we use of the inclusive pronouns like we and us can create a sense of unity and collective responsibility. We're also positioning the speaker as the leader or representative of the group. Similar, the strategy development of deployment of the terms like freedom, security, and the patriotism functions to align the speaker with values that resonate with the audience social and political beliefs, thereby reinforcing the existing power values, existing power structures. In this sense, political language games are governed by the rule of the persuasion and authority and legitimacy. All of these contribute to the construction and reinforcement of societal power relations. In contrast, the social media interactions represent a more participatory and rapidly evolving form of communication. Unlike the more controlled hierarchical nature of political discourse, language games in social media spaces are shaped by a decentralized collaborative structure where users are not merely passive recipients of information but active participants in the creation and negotiation of meaning. On platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, users engage in language games that are highly dynamic, constantly shifting in response to new trends, events, and collective understandings. This linguistic flexibility inherent in social media allows for an extraordinary range of creative expression, enabling users to adapt language to a variety of contexts and purpose, from hashtags that encapsulate social movements to memes that convey humor or critique. Social media language games exhibit an agility that reflects the faster-paced nature of digital communication. Then the next one, for the funding of SOP3, how can the theory be applied to political speeches and social medias? The nature of language games on social media also reflects broader shifts in communication practices and social engagement. While the political speeches are designed to maintain and reinforce existing social hierarchies, social media language games provide a space for more adulatory forms of expression. Users on these platforms are able to challenge traditional norms, disrupt dominant narratives, and create new forms of discourse that resist traditional power structures. For example, the social media has become a significant space for marginalized uh, groups to challenge authority, raise awareness about social justice issues, and demand political change. Mm. So these findings of study emphasize the complex and multifaceted role of power in shaping language games. In the realm of political constructed language games helps to maintain the power relations, legitimize the speaker's position, and manipulates public opinion. In contrast, social media language games operate in a more fluid, collaborative environment where the rules of communication are continually renegotiated by users. These digital spaces allow for the creation of new, alternative language games that challenge the traditional forms of power, offering the users the opportunity to reframe the conversations, expose injustice, and resist the dominant ideologies. The power dynamics in political speeches and social media interactions are not static. They are continually shaped and reshaped by the participants who engage in these language games, underscoring the importance of understanding language and the social context dependent phenomena. These findings underscore how Wittgenstein's theory of language games offers valuable insights into the power of language in both formal and informal communication contexts. Whether in political speeches or social media, language is never neutral. It's always shaped by the social rules, power structures, and the cultural dynamics that govern its use. Through a deeper understanding of the rules and the strategies that underpie these language games, we gain insights into the complex ways in which language functions as both a means of communication and a tool of social interaction, power negotiation, and ideological expression. This research demonstrates that profound and far-reaching impact of Wittgenstein's theory of language games on our understanding of language, meaning, and communication, and Wittgenstein's philosophy, which challenges traditional notions of language as a fixed and a static system of science, offers an alternative view in which meaning is not inherent in words themselves, but is instead shaped by the way language is used within specific social contexts. By analyzing the language games employed in political speeches and social media interactions, this study highlights how language is intricately shaped by a variety of factors, including social norms, cultural practices, and underlying power dynamics. Through this analysis, we see how words and phrases take on different meaning depending on the context, the roles of the participants, and the intention of the speaker or writer. Western's theory provides valuable tools for dissecting and understanding language in a diverse range of communicative settings. In political discourse, language is used as a strategy tool to construct the identities, maintain power, and influence public opinions. Politicians engage in language games that are governed by the specific rules designed to persuade, unify, or challenge, depending on the political objective. These rules are not always explicit, but are often implied a different realm of language use. One where language games are more fluid and collaborative, constantly evolving in response to new social trends, movements, and technological innovations. Social media also allow individuals to engage with language in more ways, challenging the established norms and creating alternative narratives that may not be possible in more formal, structured settings like political speeches. Through the Wittgenstein's lens, language is understood as an active, dynamic process rather than a passive reflection of reality. This research underscores the importance of context in understanding meaning, showing that language is not a passive conduit for transmitting information, but an active social practice that reflects the value, power structures, and cultural norms of the communities in which it is used. Stan also emphasized the adaptability of language, demonstrating how it evolves to meet the communicative needs of individuals and groups in a constantly changing social landscape. Wittgenstein's theory helps us understand why certain linguistic practices emerge and why meaning can shift so dramatically over time and across contexts. Moreover, it contributes significantly to the growing body of work in social linguistic discourse analysis and communication studies that emphasize the dynamic, context-dependent nature of language. It supports the view that language is not a neutral tool for communication, but a powerful means of social interaction that is always shaped by the social and the political contexts in which it's used. Um, Language games, whether in political speeches or social media, are never neutral. They are always shaped by underlying power dynamics. And the rules of these games reflect the interests and ideology of those who participate in them. The finding of this study also speak to the role of language in the construction and the negotiation of social identities. By examining the ways in which language games operate in political speeches and social media, we gain the insight into how individuals and groups use the language to define themselves, their communities, and their relationships with others. The research illustrates that language is not only a tool for conveying ideas, but also it's a a means of asserting power, challenging authority, and shaping collective memory. It is through language that we construct our identities and our social rules and our understanding of the world around us. Wittgenstein's insights into the language games offer a comprehensive framework for understanding the fluid, context-sensitive nature of the language. This, this one also contributes to the growing recognition of language as a dynamic and adaptive phenomenon shaped by the social, cultural, and political forces that influence it. By applying Wittgenstein's theory to both formal political discourse and informal social media interactions, this demonstrates that the vital role of language in shaping communication, social interactions, and power relations. Ultimately, it emphasizes that language is not just a tool for conveying information, but an active force in the construction of meaning, identity, and powers in the society. And then let's go into the recommendation. The first one for the educators. The first one should include case studies of language games in linguistics curricula to deepen understanding of communication theories. And the second one should integrate examples from contemporary platforms to engage students effectively. Second one, for the researchers, should conduct longitudinal studies on language evolution across social platforms and should explore the interaction between algorithmic amplification and language use on the social media. That's all. Thank you very much.